Hello.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good evening. But when this airs, it'll be
Oh,
good
right.
morning.
It'll be good morning. You're right. You're right. Good morning.
I think we should keep this part in because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's way more fun this way.
So, good morning at the time that you're watching this.
Yeah. Good morning.
Me and Kimberly are pre-recording. And oh, we didn't even do that. And this is that vegan morning show. Okay. Ready, Kimberly? We're gonna say it together. Three, two,
Okay.
one. And
This
this is
is
that
that vegan
vegan
morning
morning
show.
show. Okay. Now it's like official. We can start
Yes,
this
we are
episode.
here.
We are here. We are pre-recording because I have something going on Monday morning that I won't be able to be available at 7 a.m. to record it live. So we decided it'd be fun to pre-record it and schedule it with the magic of YouTube scheduling. Hopefully that
Mhm.
all works out when we set this up.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So we usually talk about what we did over the weekend. We don't know how our weekends will be, but they'll probably be amazing because we have more Main Street Vegan Academy training together. So
Yes, we do.
I'm sure we're going to be super happy. We'll be tired, but also
Hmm.
just I know it'll be an amazing weekend.
Yeah, for sure. No question.
No question about that. Exactly. So Kimberly, we're very fired up today.
We are. Yeah, we are mad.
We are angry vegans right
Yeah.
now.
Oh, Jen, I am so glad that you brought this topic to me and also so disappointed in us as humans and all of the things that we are capable of. Why
Yes.
don't you tell the viewers what you what you presented to me the other night?
It was my doing. So, a couple things happened last week. One, I saw a story about Marineland, which is an aquarium and like I think it's an amusement park. I remember the commercials were because it's in Canada, I think in like the Ontario area, or maybe I forgot what part of Canada they're in, but not far from the New York State border, I think, because I remember seeing commercials for them all the time in Syracuse growing up. It had a very
Mm,
catchy jingle and everything looked fun and great
of
at
course.
Marineland, you know. I think
Hmm.
great place for the family, right? However, I saw this horrific story about how um, there are beluga whales, I think it's 30, if I remember seeing it correctly, that could be euthanized right now because they cannot take care of them anymore. They want to euthanize these beluga whales. And there's an
Mm.
article I went to follow up on it um, to see what the latest was in preparation. And I found an article that popped up from Global News Canada. Um, there is a trainer who was fired from Marineland, and so I think I'm going to read a little bit about this just to kind of set the stage.
Yeah.
So the title of the article says, "We need to get them out. Beluga trainer fired by Marineland speaks out." So, Marineland's crumbling infrastructure, staffing shortage, and lack of resources have created dangerous conditions for its belugas, and they should be moved immediately, a fired beluga trainer says. Christy Burgess, who worked at the Niagara Falls, Ontario Park when a young beluga was put down in February, said Marineland's threat to euthanize all 30 of its remaining belugas if it doesn't receive emergency funding is a repulsive tactic that uses the whales as leverage. We need to get them out, Burgess said, of the last captive whales in Canada immediately. Burgess is speaking out for the first time about her experience at Marineland as the very whales she loved now face possible death. 19 belugas, one dolphin, and one killer whale have died at the park since 2019, according to a database created by the Canadian press, passed on internal documents and official statements. And then also it continues to mention the Beluga pools, Arctic Cove and Friendship Cove, are in desperate need of repair, with their painted walls peeling and concrete chunks falling into the water. Burgess said, whales have come in with paint chips on their tongues. She said, pools are falling apart. Rocks from the pools, decorative features have crumbled into the tanks, providing some excitement for the whales as they like to play with them or try to eat them, she said. We've had people We've had people dive into the water and fish out really large, heavy rocks, probably the size of dinner plates, Burgess said. The water system has broken down regularly, affecting the park's ability to drop and raise water, which is crucial to giving whales medical treatment. This has meant delays in treating whales or trainers taking extra risk to getting into deeper water to provide care, she said. Marineland did not respond to multiple requests for comment with detailed questions about Burgess's allegations. So they're by Niagara Falls. I forgot. I didn't pay attention to that part when I read that before. So that answers that question. They're right by Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
So there's that piece that it seems like this, place, right? Happy family place,
Mm,
right? Is just using these animals, right? And doesn't really care about their well-being.
yeah.
And then we're going to tie that in with a documentary but we both watched called
Hmm.
Aquariums: The Dark Hobby, which I also watched last week. So I was not only fired up about the Marineland story showing up on social media, but I had just watched this documentary.
Hmm.
And I figured it tied in nicely or horribly, however you want to
Yeah.
frame it. It went well. It connected with the topic of, marine wildlife. And
Yeah.
so me and Kimberly have a lot to say.
Yeah.
So your turn, Kimberly. What do you have to say about all that?
Well, the whole like this marine land and all of the other, places that are like that, exploiting these animals that are so intelligent, and
Yeah.
no animal deserves to suffer, no matter how intelligent they are, based on what we think makes intelligence, or, whether we're comparing it to humans or to other, sea life or whatever it is, other mammals. No one deserves to suffer. And we know that these animals can feel pain. We know that they are very social creatures. And to have them, and even just to think about where these animals live, our planet is what, like 80% water or 90%. Like the ocean is the biggest thing we've got, right? And so
Mhm.
they go from living in this vast expanse, going where they want to go, swimming miles a day, or whatever it is that each of these different mammals that are kept in these like sea parks, um, they go from that to, essentially swimming in a circle, jumping out of the water to make people go, yay. Um, it's if you think about, I remember during COVID where it was like, oh, so many people were like, I can't believe I can't leave my house. Like, oh my God, it's been like 3 days and I can't go outside. And you're
Mhm.
getting cabin fever from being stuck in your house, whether you lived in a one-bedroom apartment or like a mansion. People were across the board like, oh, I can't believe this. Like, that's their life every single day. And they
Yeah.
are feeling the same way that you were in those moments where you're like, I can't be in these walls anymore. I've got to get out of here. And they don't have the option. And it's heartbreaking. Like, for what? And when I was watching the documentary and watching the fish in the ocean, like with the reef cams, they're so beautiful.
Mhm.
And it just made me feel like, in the fish who were around the reefs that are cared for and protected. So they're all just like, they're just beautiful, and they're moving and they're living, and they're going with the flow of the water, and they're cleaning up. Like they're talking about these two fish that are like a couple for life, and they maintain their little section of the coral reef, and you can see them eating the algae off, and it was just so fucking cute and sweet. And to know that like we have the ability to watch this by putting a camera in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Why in the world do we need to take that beautiful space and those beautiful creatures out of there to put them in a small box in our living room? And I just was enraged just thinking about that. And then I learned what happens to them from the time they are taken from the reef to
Mm-hmm.
ending up in that hobby aquarium, which, by the way, just like with factory farmed animals, these fish typically will live for years beyond what, like, if they're left in their normal habitat, they will live for years beyond what they actually get to live when they are in someone's hobby aquarium, because they're lucky if they live a year or 2 years when maybe they would have lived 7, 8, 9, 10 years if they'd just been left in the ocean. And so I was boiling with rage and could not wait to talk to you about this because I know that you are feeling the same way. So share your rage with me, Jen.
I take another sip of water
Right.
because I have a lot of rage to share. I've had some time to like process, and I did, we're doing a blog challenge, so I did an article. I channeled my rage in a blog post
Hmm.
last week. And there are some things that really stuck out at me. So, again, one of the things that horrified me is in some parts of the world, people use cyanide to squirt on the fish, and they either die from it, and the ones that die, they just get tossed out like, you know, they're
Hmm.
nothing, like their lives meant nothing. And the ones that survive, they're stunned from it. They're then taken, you know. And the people who use the cyanide method, they have all this exposure to it underwater. And they were saying how their eyes turn yellow from it. Like they get all these, but everyone's just so caught up with
Hmm.
money, right?
Money. Mm.
Then dynamite, and also the cyanide erodes the reefs, right? And
Hmm.
so these reefs are a delicate ecosystem that
Yeah.
we need. The ocean needs the reefs. And so then the dynamite is another way they'll blow up the reefs with using dynamite, and the fish get stunned and shocked from that. And so the ones that survive that just get captured, and you're blowing up the reef. And they were saying that surprisingly, the cyanide's actually worse to the reef than the dynamite because that,
Mm.
erodes it differently. And then there's also what happens, when fish are caught. And then also, and then in Hawaii, they focused a lot in Hawaii and how there's some reefs in Hawaii that are protected, and then there are others that are not. And there's been a lot of legislation that just falls by the wayside, which
Hmm.
makes you wonder what's going on there,
Right.
right? Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. So that was really heartbreaking to see how Native Hawaiians have been fighting for, and then just other activists too who care about the ocean, right? Are fighting to protect it, and it's like the government doesn't care. And so those fish that are caught in nets, and then they can either be punctured with a hypodermic needle to help them
Hmm.
bring them up to the, and so that's got to be frightening and scary for the fish. um there's fin cutting that is done as well because they don't want the bags punctured. And then on
Hmm.
top of that, they starve these fish because they don't want them to poop in the bags, because if they poop in the bags, then there's going to be bacteria. So imagine it's like they're being abducted, right?
Yeah.
Taken from their families.
Yep.
And what I also, they had someone on there, someone wrote a book and they had him on. His name is Jonathan Balcombe. He wrote a book called What a Fish Knows: The Inner Lives of Our Underwater Cousins. This is something I like to read at some point.
Yeah, me too.
But he mentioned that fish can talk and sing to each other, and they
Mhm.
shared the fish sounds
Yeah.
that fish
Oh,
made. It was so beautiful.
it
And
was.
he talked about how they have minds, they experience emotions, they have social lives. Like, right, you were talking about this fish couple that they clean the reef
Hmm.
together. And several studies have shown that fish retain information for years. And and they can feel pain. And so, and when you watch their activity on the reefs, you see that they have these personalities, they have these, it's like a city, right?
Yeah.
But humans have this shitty way of thinking that we're cursing on this episode.
We are, yeah. Oops.
Um, humans have this way of thinking that less than of a if something doesn't communicate and behave the way that they do, then they're less than. And
Hmm.
fish, because they don't make sounds that we can hear, people think they're stupid, they're just dumb, right?
Yeah.
But that's not true, right? And it's there's this just egotistical mindset that's just so infuriating with
Yep.
how animals are made to be less than and treated less than for some form of human benefit, whether it's
Hmm.
fashion, medicine, cosmetics, food, entertainment, and nobody cares. Or, the people doing this, the people behind
Right.
this. And look, I used to not think anything about these things. I used to go to the Brooklyn Aquarium, and, before my vegan days. And, I remember even like a few years ago, I don't remember when this was exactly, maybe 3, 4 years ago. We were with friends. It was I think it was before we were living where we are now, but we were in like the Hudson Valley area, and there was like this place that had like a petting thing. It was like a craft fair thing, and they had like a boa constrictor, and you could hold it. And so like we took turns holding it, and then after the fact I thought about it. It was like one of those things, like I didn't think, I was like,
Hmm.
oh, this poor snake.
Yeah.
And I just participated in that, right? But that's part of those layers that you work through as a vegan, right? It's
Hmm.
like, usually it starts with, you know food and clothing, right? And the immediate products, and then all the other things that we're conditioned to thinking are okay, you know. As a kid, I
Hmm.
remember going on pony rides, right? These poor, think looking back, these ponies were just like tied up to this little circle thing and, going around. But as a kid, you're taught, oh, the ponies, like you don't
Hmm.
think about these things. And so, that's why it's so important that we're here speaking about this to help
Yeah.
create that awareness because people, look, we all were at one point not vegans, and at one point we
Hmm.
weren't thinking about these things, and now that we're at that point, we can be part of that facilitation of change. I feel like I've said a lot,
Yeah.
but your turn.
No, you're good. I want to go back because one of the things that you mentioned was medicine, and they touched on this very briefly in the documentary where they talked about the shark fin soup
Oh, yes.
because that is considered, like a medicinal, very like important, and people who believe that it's healing really believe that it is like the most healing thing. And it is so, so horrific because they capture these sharks, they cut off one fin, and then they throw them back into the ocean to die. And I have seen videos in other documentaries of a shark who has lost their fin, or not lost, their fin has been forcibly removed, and then to see them sink to the bottom of the ocean, attempting to move, and they can't. And just knowing that what these animals are capable of, the lives that they're able to lead.
Mm-hmm.
So someone can have a single bowl of soup. It's just baffling,
Yeah.
baffling. And it
Yeah.
said that there are over 100 million sharks every year killed for shark fin soup alone.
Yeah. That's it's so heartbreaking hearing about these things. And again, people don't think about it, right? And
Hmm.
the people doing these things, they're in compromised situations a lot of the time. They're just
Hmm.
trying to take care of their family, right? It's just all terrible systems feeding terrible systems.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just so sad how there's such little regard that you're amputating a part of this animal and then just tossing
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly what you said. A bowl of
Yeah.
soup,
Right.
right? And look what we do to cows for a hamburger, or what
Hmm.
people do to pigs for bacon,
Yeah.
or, veal, right? Veal
Hmm.
is a baby cow,
Yeah.
right? Look what people do for milk, right?
Hmm.
And eggs and all of these things and all the bullshit marketing. This is probably the most Kirsten episode we've done.
I think so.
All this marketing that, is like, free range and,
Mm,
grass fed,
yeah.
you're grass feeding it to just kill it. So it's how can it be happy?
Right.
Right?
Another thing that came up in the documentary, this guy, his name is Bill Wintner, and he is a photographer. And he also is an activist. So he is part of the groups that are pushing those legislation, trying to get bills passed. He is part of those groups. But some people have labeled him an eco-terrorist because he's down there taking photos of things that are happening, or even just bearing witness, you know? And he talked about that, but then he also talked about just the the incredible nature of the fish along the coral reef that he
Yeah.
gets the opportunity to photograph. And he talks about how so many fish, they can recognize you. He's like, you start to see the same fish, you realize, oh, I saw that fish yesterday. And then suddenly you realize that the fish is like, hey, I saw that guy yesterday. And he even showed a photo of this one fish, and I'll try to get a screen grab of it so we can maybe share it on
Yeah,
socials or something.
that's a
But
great
the
idea.
look on this fish's face is so sweet. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like he just turned to pose for the photo, and it just filled my heart. I don't even know what words to use right now, but it was just a really beautiful moment, and I was
That
really glad to witness that.
Yeah, I love that part too, and I can picture it in my head. I know exactly. Yeah, if we can get a screen grab of it, that would be great, and I
Yeah.
can edit it in here. Um, yeah, and it reminds me, and I watched this documentary a couple years ago, my octopus teacher, and I know
Mm.
I'm gonna rewatch it because I saw it a couple years ago, and it was such a good documentary about a diver who becomes friends with an octopus. And they're so intelligent
Yeah.
and so smart. And
Mhm.
they they're just really brilliant creatures. Again, they don't behave like us, but again, people are like, "Where are the aliens?" Right? When are the aliens going to come visit us? If they look at how we treat each other and other beings,
Right.
why would they want to come here? Right?
Right, exactly.
Because anything that's different from anybody gets, attacked in
Mhm.
some way, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, um, I feel like, that it's just, yeah, but when you were talking about that fish picture, my octopus teacher is such a heartwarming, I think that's the name of it, something like that. It's
Yeah,
such a
it is.
heartwarming documentary, showing this relationship, this friendship that this diver has with this octopus, and he spends time with her up until, the end of her natural life. As her and he gets to be there with all of her various life cycles.
Mm.
And it's until she, I think from what I remember, that like the last stage is like laying eggs and everything, and that was like her like final stage, and he just got to
Mhm.
be her friend in her life and hang out
Mhm.
with her, and so anyway, it shows the beauty and the intelligence of these animals, and when you mentioned that picture, it just made me think of that documentary because
Mhm.
and that's what we should be doing. We should be trying to cultivate friendships with animals,
Yeah.
not by sticking them in fish tanks.
Mhm.
And yeah, I didn't think about fish tanks too much, except like, obviously, sometimes you'll see like the beta fish,
Oh yeah.
in those, I mean, drive through here,
Yeah, in the
in
tiny
those
little
little
like
tubs.
cups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a beta fish before I was vegan, like 2011. I got one in my apartment. Um, and looking, I got a bigger bowl than what it was in, but like looking back at that, like, you know, and I remember as a kid going into carnivals. You ever do the like throw the ping pong balls into the fish
Mhm.
bowls?
They
Like
give
all
you a
these
little
things
bag
that
of
are like,
fish
yeah,
and like
all these
yeah.
things that were acceptable, right? And you look back at things you did before you knew better, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's we have to be kind to ourselves because we didn't
Mhm.
know. You can do better when you know better, right?
Right.
And if growing up we're taught that, most of us are taught that these things are normal.
Right. Mhm.
And
Yep.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that they talked about because fish so many people don't acknowledge like what they're capable of, right? And people know, oh, dolphins are so smart. So they know dolphins communicate, they can use tools, but you know what? Fish can too.
Yeah.
And they talk about how fish plan, they use tools, they have social lives, they have sex lives. Like, they're when they are left to do what they have fulfilling, happy lives
Mhm.
as fish do. Doesn't mean that their life looks like ours. They live in a completely different world than we do. And to discount that they would have the ability to have a fulfilling life living in all of their fishness is just like it's so frustrating to see that we have come so far in so many ways and there's still this idea that like you were saying before where if you're not exactly like us then you're less than.
Yeah. Yeah, they're having a meaningful life for them. Who are we
Right.
to determine a shark should die because someone wants a fin in their soup,
Right.
right? Or we don't need fish tanks to, especially with technology now. Why not have a screen that just shows a fish cam in the ocean showing them in their natural world?
Mhm.
Um, we can move beyond these things. Just because that's
Yeah.
how it always was doesn't mean that's how it has to be.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
before we shift gears to something a little more hopeful, was there anything else you wanted to get out
Yeah.
of your system, Kimberly?
Yeah, and you know what? Good for us because I think we have been very controlled and we have not just raged. We've let it out a little bit, so yay us. But one thing I did want to say is another thing they mentioned in this documentary, which by the way, again, is called Aquariums, a dark hobby, um, is that the way people choose the fish to have in their home aquariums, their hobby aquariums, have absolutely nothing to do with fish who actually would live near each other in their natural environment.
Oh,
They're
right.
choosing them by color or because they like the way a certain fish looks. And so we're putting these fish in these environments where they're likely to be in a very small space with a fish who's going to eat them or fight with them. So we're putting them in this space that is unsafe for them in so many ways, but their lives are like immediately at risk by mixing them with fish who see them as food or don't recognize them as someone they'd live near, and so the likelihood they're going to be attacked. And then what happens? Oh, this fish died, gotta replace it, instead of, this idea that this was a living being, a him, a her, this idea, I got to replace it, and then you just get another fish of the same color or whatever, and it's just so like materialistic.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm sure that there will be people that'll be like, oh no, there are people who have the, 10, $20,000 fish tanks in their house. They're thinking about which fish live with, like, but they're still not thinking about how much better off those fish would be if we just left them in the ocean in the first place. And that is the most important thing.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was something I didn't know until I watched the documentary.
Yeah, same.
And yeah, it's like again, these fish, these beings, again, they were plucked from their homes, their
Mhm.
families, thrown in in a strange environment with fish they may not have even ever seen before, right? It's not part of their natural
Mhm.
environment. And so they're reacting to that, right? Or they could be fish
Yeah.
that are natural enemies, right?
Right. Yep.
And and so imagine the stress that they're feeling. That's the thing. No one thinks or cares about the stress
Right.
because people again think they're less than and they don't feel. They're just props.
Mhm. Yeah.
And um, you know, yeah, it's it's a lot.
It is.
Deep breath, Kimberly. And thank you all for listening to us
Yes,
on
thank
all
you
of
so
this.
much.
We certainly would like to know what your thoughts are
Yeah.
about this. Um, how do you feel about this? Have you watched this documentary? Um, yeah, we would love to know what your thoughts and feelings are on this issue.
Yeah. Please tell us.
Yes. And on that note, Kimberly, what we were looking for some upbeat
We
things
were.
to end
And
with. So do you want to transition us to that?
yeah. Yeah, so we thought, oh, this is so heavy and it's so awful, and my goodness, is it sad. We need to find something to end on a high note. And gotta tell you, it wasn't easy. And I'm not even sure that we fully have. But one of the things Jen and I were interested in is, there are sanctuaries for farmed animals, or there sanctuaries for marine life who have been rescued or, need to be in a place because for some reason they can't live in the wild, or, how is there something out there? So I found a website under and I gotta get what does this stand for? The National Ocean NOAA. I don't know why I can't find what that stands for because
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
on
like
their
looking it up
website.
now too.
But so we looked up, are there, when I was looking up, are there sanctuaries? And it says, I mean, the website is sanctuaries.noaa.gov. So you would assume that meant there are sanctuaries. And what it looks like is that they aren't sanctuaries, in that they are very much a place for tourism and, kind of, yeah, they describe it, yeah, as a way to address 21st century challenges while supporting America's commerce and tourism. So that was like, meh, meh, I don't care for that. But
Hmm.
then, where'd the other link go?
Oh.
Then then Jen found this place called the Marine Mammal Center.
Hmm.
This is the one, right?
Yeah, Marine Mammal Center.
Yeah, where what it looks like is that they care for marine animals who have been rescued and need medical care. And they do have exhibits, but and that you can visit this place, but what it looks like is that you never actually interact with the animals, which is important to both of us, that
Yeah.
that the animals aren't being exploited. Oh, but I do see now that you can actually, I found another page with tour options, and there is one where people are overlooking the pools where the sea lions are rehabbing. So they're not near them, but the sea lions can certainly see them from the perch that they're on. So
Hmm.
that's less great, but it does look like there are a lot of um, programs where as you walk through, you are watching videos. And so you're not up close and personal with these animals who are being cared for and trying to recover from whatever it is. So still not perfect,
Yeah.
but it does seem like the education piece that they're mostly pushing is for people who will interact away from the animals. So we'll keep looking for something better, but those are the two options that we've found so far.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Kimberly. Yeah, when I was looking at the Marine Mammal Center, I like that they focus on educating people about conservation, and they refer to, you know the animals that are there as patients, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's some dignity there, right? They're
Yeah.
they're not just an animal, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
they're they're a patient. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that they are working hard to rehab these animals, take care of them. I mean, sea life. I don't like using generalized terms of animals, but the sea lions and the other sea creatures that are there. Um, and so I like that they're, and at least the animal, the sea life that's there are not being it's not the same thing as like marine land where they're being brought in
Right.
purposely to be
To
looked
be
at,
held captive.
to
Yeah.
be held captive. These are patients who are there, and they are using the opportunity of caring for them as a way to show people, and it probably helps fund their operation as well by having people visit. So it seems like a better option. Like, I feel like going to a place like that, I don't know if there's other places like that. I'm hoping there probably are. And like you said, we can always research this another time.
Yeah.
But I feel like going to a place like that, if you want to bring the family to look at wildlife from the ocean, it's better to bring them to a place like that where they're being cared for, they're being helped, there's education on conservation, there's awareness being created versus a place that's just some theme park
Right.
that's
Or
using
zoo.
animals as
Yeah.
entertainment.
Aquarium. Yeah.
Right. So I feel like, again, not like you were saying, not perfect, but
Yeah.
certainly a much better, helpful option.
Mm-hmm.
And the more people who are aware and educated, hopefully that can have more awareness on the environment and just respect
Yeah.
for the inhabitants of the ocean, um, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, those tickets are free. I just
Oh,
looked at it. Yeah, you don't have to pay to go. You just have to register because they
oh,
have timed and they have a limit of how many people can go. Yeah.
wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for finding that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's even better, right? Hey, and those theme parks, by the way, are a lot of money. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
ooh, Kimberly, we had a lot
Yeah.
to say.
Yes. Yes, we did. It's good though, and I look forward to reading about what our viewers think for sure.
Yeah, same. We try to have upbeat conversations. Sometimes we do have heavy conversations on here, but then we
Yeah.
try to follow up with more upbeat things. But I feel like, sometimes even, sometimes we have to really just get really real about certain
Hmm.
topics, and there's certain topics that are really difficult. And
Yeah.
I think from all of this past, like last week, between the aquarium documentary and reading about Marineland, it made me realize more how our ocean life is just really mistreated and
Hmm.
abused on so many
Yeah.
levels. And yeah, so I think it made me think about it more in other layers,
Hmm.
that I hadn't before. And definitely at some point, I do want to pick up that book, What a Fish Knows: The Inner
Me
Lives of
too.
Our Underwater Cousins by Jonathan Balcombe, because I feel like, I would like to understand fish more.
Hmm. Me too.
And
Yeah.
I highly recommend that everyone goes and watches Aquariums, A Dark Hobby. It's like a 56-minute documentary. It was like under an hour.
Yeah.
It it was horrifying. So
Yeah. And it was like 3.99 on Amazon Prime. It's not even a huge like
yeah, it
monetary
wasn't.
or time investment, and you learn so, so much.
Yeah, exactly. And I did a little blog post about that. I can include the link with that post. In the post,
Hmm.
I have a trailer for the documentary as well, and a link
Nice.
to that book that we just mentioned. So
Nice.
those are in there. And Kimberly, we can also include the websites that we just looked at as well, that
Hmm.
we just mentioned. We'll put that in the notes below this video.
Yeah.
And yeah, anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. Oh, there's a new podcast episode today, and by today I mean the Monday that you're watching this with cookbook author Ellen Canner from
Ooh.
and the cookbook is Miami Vegan, and it is amazing. And so the interview is really fun, so check that out.
All your interviews are fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I do get to talk to some really great people, and you're right, they are
They
always
do.
fun.
And they're lucky to get to talk to you. So,
Oh, thank you. What about you? What do you have going on? Anything you want to talk about?
um, well, I have been taking a break on the Confident Vegan. I keep thinking I'm going to do a video, and I might do it um tomorrow, in terms of tomorrow for the time this is being recorded, so it may or may not be up. So I'm not sure yet. I might just do like a, hey, this is what I'm up to kind of a video.
Hmm.
Um, I've been meaning to do one. I just haven't done more content for a bit because we've just been so busy with our Main Street Vegan Academy. And so just trying to balance out all my time with everything.
Hmm.
But I am working on some things that are coming up. I'm going to be recording some content soon at the end of
Nice.
October. I'm going to start sharing again in November, and it's going to be all holiday themed content. So,
Very cool.
yeah, recipes and all kinds of other goodies that I'm figuring out. But so in the meantime, things are quiet there. I am active on the October blog challenge. So if you want to go to the Confident Vegan website, click on my blog, you can see all the various things that I have been talking about.
Nice.
So
Good stuff.
indeed. All right. Well,
Okay.
we'll talk about something more positive next time, probably.
Yeah. We'll try.
We'll try.
Oh, wait, isn't it like travel or something, the next one?
The next one, that no, that one's I think November 3rd.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, guys. Didn't mean to get you all excited about something new. We'll let you
Let me
know
just
next
double
week what
check
it's about.
that. Let me make sure that okay, yeah. So November 3rd, we got I think it's November 3rd. Yes, we have a guest. We're gonna be talking
Okay.
about vegan travel. So
Very good.
we'll have a guest for that.
Yeah.
So yeah. But the way October is flying by, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. That's why I had to pause and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where are we again?
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to our pre-recorded episode. Please remember to leave a comment, let us know what you thought, if there's something you'd like us to talk about, and we will get back to you.
Yeah, please let us know if there is a topic you'd like us to cover. And yeah, all right. Well,
Okay.
Kimberly, it was great.
As
Uh,
always.
and we'll see you all real soon. Bye for
Okay.
now.
Bye.